Trump is basically saying the only people who we will let into this country are white people.
Yeah,
they're African.
He basically, no.
Whether they are white or black, they're African,
white
and
people.
they're facing
Caroline,
racial
you are making us
persecution in
look
their country
ridiculous
with
right
the
now.
expropriation
You are
act
making us look
that the
ridiculous. This is a
South African
completely
government just
racist
passed into law
argument.
where they said
You
the
can keep talking, but it's completely racist. If I say only white people are allowed in, it's racist.
And
it is
that is
racist.
a policy
and then they gave them a gift bag of basically white Christian supremacist propaganda.
Okay, all right,
I don't know
guys,
why you're going on about this. It makes us look absolutely idiotic.
Caroline Sunshine has never struck me as someone who thinks these arguments through very carefully. And after watching this clip, I don't think that's changing anytime soon. She appeared on CNN and tried to defend the Trump administration's decision to fast-track white South African refugees while turning away or deporting refugees from other parts of the world. And the argument she came up with honestly left the entire panel looking completely stunned. Joshua Doss, Politics Girl, and Abby Phillip simply couldn't believe what they were hearing, because the more Caroline tried to explain herself, the worse her argument became. Now, if you're new here, I'm Bradley Hostin, and this is The Bradley Hostin Show. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. I need you guys to stick with me until the very end, because after we watch this clip, I want to explain why I think this debate completely exposed the way MAGA tries to defend some of its most controversial policies. As usual, let's watch the clip, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts afterwards.
Tonight, a split screen of the Trump administration's treatment of refugees. As the Supreme Court gives the White House the green light to deport hundreds of thousands of legal migrants, like Haitians, we're learning now that at the same time, the White House is rolling out the red carpet for white South African refugees. According to the New York Times, the administration is putting together welcome bags that include an Android tablet, an American flag, copies of the Constitution, and literature sanitizing American and South African history, claiming that South Africa promotes discrimination against white people. They will also give the refugees a report commissioned by Trump downplaying the role of slavery in America's founding, and a children's book accusing South Africa's government of favoring the black population. Look, it is a fact that in the last year, since October 2025, 6,000 plus South African refugees have been allowed into this country. 3 have been allowed in from Afghanistan, and 0 people have been allowed in from anywhere else. How is that not a policy? And by the way, only white South Africans, not black South Africans. How is that not a racist policy?
So South Africans are Africans. They are citizens of the nation of South Africa. They reside on the continent of Africa. For decades, this country, they are African. Whether they are white or black, they are African. And for decades, this country has taken in millions of refugees from several African nations that have been destabilized. Somalia, so much so that we've changed the entire demographic of a U.S. state. But Somalia, Eritrea, South Sudan, Democratic Republic of the Congo.
What do all those places have in common?
We've taken in millions.
What do all those places have in common, Caroline?
So now we're taking in, what they all have in common is every single one of those nations that I just listed, including South Africa, are African countries. And we've taken in millions from the others, but we're taking in 6,000 from South Africa, and everyone's up in arms.
All of those
Caroline, you know what's going on here, and
actually
we're experiencing
6,000
war,
and it's embarrassing.
Famine,
civil war.
Please don't do that. It's so embarrassing.
All are African.
It is not that, okay? Obviously, right? Those are places where there is actual conflict, where there is actual war, where people are actually being killed. Trump is basically saying the only people who we will let into this country are white people.
Yeah,
they're African.
He basically, no.
Whether they are white or black, they're African, and they're facing
Caroline,
racial
you are making us
persecution in
look
their country
ridiculous
with
right
the
now.
expropriation
You are making
act
us look
that the
ridiculous. This is a
South African
completely
government just
racist
passed into law
argument.
where they said
You
the
can keep
government
talking, but it's completely
can
racist. If I say
private
only white people are allowed in,
regardless,
it's racist.
and
It is
that is a
racist.
policy for
And then they
people
gave
who are
them a gift
discriminated
bag
against
of
in South
basically
Africa.
white Christian
They have every right
supremacist
as much as
propaganda.
Okay, all right,
I don't know
guys,
why you're going on about this. It makes us look absolutely idiotic.
Back up. Josh, back up. This is, like, I don't even know where to start with this. Is this how you actually feel? Like, are you giving your real opinions right now? I feel like this is not how you actually feel about this
The United States has had an extremely generous refugee policy in regards to several African nations. Now that South Africa is one of them, there's a problem. When was the problem when we were taking in millions from
You're
every
being
other
deliberately
destabilized
obtuse,
African
and it's
nation?
embarrassing.
This is very deliberately obtuse, I would say. I'm going to kind of skip over some of this and say...
Can somebody
Stop.
explain the Expropriation
No, please
Act then
stop.
in South Africa and what's
No,
going
we don't
on
want
there?
to do that, Caroline.
Okay,
I know
Caroline,
what
let
your
me,
answer
the first
is.
thing
It doesn't
about
matter if
that
it's racist.
is that what you're saying, that Expropriation Act, no property has been expropriated. You know that, right?
No, that's not true.
It is
you
true.
read the executive order that the
No,
Trump
but hold on.
administration wrote.
No property has actually been expropriated.
I think there's 6,000 South Africans that would beg to
So
differ.
you're talking about something that is basically hypothetical when here's the reality of life in South Africa. 3 decades after apartheid, which apartheid means that black people were subjected to laws that prevented them from living as equal citizens. Black South Africans, who account for more than 80% of the country's 63 million people, face far higher unemployment than their white counterparts, 35.8% compared to 8%, okay? White households average almost 5 times more wealth than black families. So, okay, in South Africa, I'm sure they have plenty of problems internally, but this idea that there is a genocide happening in South Africa against white people is fictitious. Here's one person who was brought into this country as a refugee. He says he left behind a Jaguar sports car, a Range Rover, and what he estimates to be property worth at least $300,000. He plans to sell them all so that he can come to the United States as a refugee. Meanwhile, we're saying to Americans, don't go to Haiti because you might die, but we want to send 350,000 asylum seekers essentially back to Haiti because Stephen Miller doesn't like Haitians.
Well, because it's a different program.
I don't think it's because Stephen Miller doesn't like Haitians. I think because
He said as much.
Okay, but I think the Supreme Court of the United States made that ruling. I don't think it's based on the executive branch.
Because the administration wants to deport them, yes.
Okay, but the judicial branch had 6 pretty intelligent lawyers who decided that
they were going to bend their will to
but
president.
Arthur, what is the logic of a policy that lets a guy with a Range Rover and a Jaguar sports car in as a refugee, but not someone literally fleeing essentially a civil war?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, the answer is...
I'm always honest with you. I don't have an answer to that.
If I can, I think we can back it up again to the gift bags. What other group of people have we brought into the country and given gift bags to?
Well, we've given a lot of
other group
Somalian
of people-
refugees $18 billion worth of fraud to buy their own Range Rovers here. I think that's
We
pretty
don't
generous
have any
of the
proof
American
of the fraud
taxpayer.
you're talking
That's
about,
quite a gift
Caroline.
bag.
And let me tell
And it
you,
was
we don't
predominantly
you keep
committed by
claiming
Somalian
things
red
that aren't
armed
true,
We gotta
but
go
they're true.
quickly.
I'm just going to say this is America at its most familiar to me, opening its arms very wide open to white immigrants and not black immigrants, and then telling you not to believe your eyes
Are South
when you've seen
Africans
it.
African?
All
Are
right.
white South Africans African?
Next for us, we're going to read some of your feedback.
Okay, so let me give you guys
I'm
my
gonna go
thoughts
ahead
because I think this clip exposed something much bigger than Caroline Sunshine. First of all, I don't think what she said was some accidental slip of the tongue. This wasn't a gaffe. This is exactly how MAGA defends policies that are accused of being racially discriminatory. Notice what happened. Instead of answering the criticism directly, she changed the conversation. The question wasn't whether white South Africans are Africans. Of course they are. The question was why one group was being fast-tracked while refugees from countries facing far worse humanitarian crises were being turned away. Those are 2 completely different conversations. But this is a tactic we've seen before. When the facts become difficult to defend, the argument suddenly shifts to semantics instead of substance. And that's why I thought the reaction from Joshua Doss, Politics Girl, and Abby Phillip was so revealing. They weren't just disagreeing with her. They looked genuinely bewildered. You could see it on their faces. It was almost as if they were thinking, is this really the argument you're going with? Because when an argument is that weak, you almost don't know where to start. The other thing that really stood out to me is that this policy didn't happen by accident. The Trump administration made a deliberate decision to prioritize white South Africans while taking a much tougher approach toward many other refugee groups. Whether you support that decision or oppose it, it's fair to ask why one group was treated differently from others seeking refuge. Those are legitimate questions, and they deserve legitimate answers. Instead, what we got was an attempt to blur the issue by saying, well, they're all Africans. To me, that doesn't answer the criticism at all. It simply avoids it. And that's why I think this debate matters. It's not just about one spokesperson or one television appearance. It's about how political narratives are built and how difficult questions are sometimes answered with distractions instead of explanations. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more news commentaries. I'll see you guys in the next one.